Hello there, Chris here from Becker's Model Aircraft. I have a interesting video for you today to listen, watch and pontificate on. I have a theory. I think that there's a problem that could ruin aircraft modelling if, in the long run, if we don't arrest it now and we try to fix the problem. And what that is I contend that new tool model aircraft and helicopters and jets and whatever have you are getting far too complex. They're getting too complex, the parts count's getting way too high, and I'm not just talking 148 scale, I'm talking 172nd scale, all the scales, and they're getting a little bit too expensive as well. This particular kit, the Airfix Sea King, I mean, we're talking over $100 Australian. Everything is just getting more complex, more expensive, and less practical for the average or beginner modeler to actually tackle. So what do I mean? Well, it seems like every new aircraft release that comes out, every model release, it's hailed as the greatest next thing, you know, full interiors, open panels, exquisite detail, more complexity, huge part count, you know, massive, thick, massive boxes full of all these plastic parts and options and everything. And it's like, are we really getting to it? Are we really highlighting the aesthetic beauty of the model itself? Are we actually focusing too much and making an autopsy of the thing, you know, ripping everything apart and making sure you can see the inside and you know, everything folded up or folded out of the way, or, you know, everything exposed, like I said, like an autopsy, you're cutting everything open. Is that really what we want from our models? You know, where are the connections to the people who actually operate them? Most of the models don't even come with crew, even though they all have the box art of them in flight. And that's my other thing, you know, I beat that drum incessantly. Where are the in-flight options? How can I actually display this on my desktop with a flight stand? There's no flight stands included. I keep going on about that, but this particular video, this is all about, and the catalyst was getting this kit and then getting the older Hasegawa Sea King, which I'll show soon, about, you know, to what end is this complexity driving our hobby? I mean, sure, some of the advanced modelers are loving it. This plethora of new kits that are coming out, and they've got every sort of detail, and now we've got 3D printing to enhance all this aftermarket. It's fantastic. But what about the average Joe or Joanne who just wants to build a nice looking model for their collection for their desktop? Right, I think we need to go back to go forward, and that's what this video is going to be about. I'll discuss some ideas. I'm going to compare this new 2023 tool Sea King with the 1992 Hasegawa Sea King, and let's see, have we actually improved the hobby? I'll confess, all I wanted to do with this video was to compare these two old kits, but it came to me just like, it's really more about, you know, where the hobby's going. And look, this is not going to be a comparison review. If you want me to do a separate review of these kits, I can. There's other ones for the new Airfix, plenty of them out there. I just want to highlight a few things here. I just want to show you what's happened. First of all, let's look at the instruction manuals. Hasegawa 1992 Airfix, okay? It's a book. There are 186 steps for this kit. All right, how many for the Hasegawa one? 30. Yes, 30. Why? Well, Airfix for some reason decided to have every version, every British version that is, of the Sea King included in here. So you get, from the get-go, you have to work out, excuse the dog here, you know, 4 different versions. And it just goes on page after page, all these different variations that you've got to keep an eye on, which holes to drill, which things to remove, which things to add on, and everything. So already the complexity is super high. Why they didn't just make a single version of this and just release it as that, and then do subsequent versions later, I don't know. They've decided to go with this, make it as complex as possible. Now, the big difference between these two kits, and you can see it quite plainly with the instructions. The Hasegawa one really doesn't have an interior. It's got a cockpit, it's got a forward cockpit, which is okay detailed. There's a few parts on the inside of the fuselage, but not really. To button this up, we're up to part 7 before you actually button up the entire thing. There's really just that front cockpit area, and that's it, just a basic floor at the back. Now that's a downside of this kit according to some people. Yeah, you can't pose the door open. Can you actually pose the door open? I'm not sure. Let's have a look. I don't think you can. I think it comes closed. Or does it come open? I should have checked this beforehand. No, I think it comes closed. In fact, I've got the pieces here. That should alleviate any problem. So here are the fuselage pieces. No, it's just fully closed up. You're just going to see the cockpit through the canopy. That's it. So the big difference is with the Airfix one, you're going to see everything. They've made a full interior. I'll just quickly go over. I mean, look at this. Hundreds of parts, all the seats, all the equipment. Then there's different equipment. There's the anti-submarine warfare equipment. There's all that sort of stuff. And of course, they've got external doors, so you can pose the door open. But it just goes on and on. In fact, there's actually no separate engines. So the Hasegawa and Airfix are the same. So there's no engines. Yeah, to what end? To what end do you need all that stuff? Is it a good thing to have? Yes, it is. But I think there's a better way to do that. Now, before I continue on, I just want to make one further point. And when this kit was released, I was a bit hesitant to get it. And I made a complaint to Airfix directly. And that's about these bloody rivets. Look how many there are. They're all out of scale and they're way too big. And all the builds that I've seen of these online so far have not impressed me with the external look of the aircraft. Internally, hey, it looks great with that big open door. You can pose a crew in there. If it had a crew, there's no crew included. I don't know why Airfix don't include pilots anymore in their aircraft kits. They used to, but they're gone backwards. But look at these rivets. They're way out of scale. Other contemporary manufacturers, Academy, Meng, Takom, they can make recessed or raised. They should be raised. Rivets, nice petite, and they couldn't do that with this. I don't know why they didn't spend the time. Look at the Hasegawa ones. Can you see them? Okay, nice and petite. This is a 32-year-old kit, and the rivets are better than the new one, the 1-year-old Airfix. The panel lines are as crisp and recessed and nice and, just perfectly done. Just like, so if you want to add more rivets to this, you can. If you want to remove the rivets from the Airfix one, good luck with that. Now, what would I say to Airfix? What they should have done with this release was they should have just released one version. Okay, one kit, and they should have made a simple version of it. They should have said, well, okay, we'll have a little bit of interior that you can see. Maybe we'll just do the cockpit. And if you want to have a full interior, well, we'll do that for the second version. That's more expensive. I mean, they could have made this at a really cheap price point. They could have included a crew and maybe just have one decal option. And, it wouldn't have been this $100 plus kit. I don't know how much it is in Brexit land. It's, £60 or something. It's a very expensive kit. And this is not an isolated incident. And that's what I want to talk about next. I want to just highlight some of the new releases, aircraft models that have come out in the past year or so. And, the overwhelming trend. Sure, there's a few examples and I will include some. But the overwhelming trend is more complexity, more parts count, more open panels. And paradoxically, it looks less and less like an actual model aircraft. Let's go even beyond, most model aircraft these days that are on wheels down, parked on the ground like a car. But, the trend now seems to be, let's get it all open. Let's make it look like an autopsy. I'll give you some examples. Armour Hobby, they make some great kits. I tried to build their 172 scale P51, but gave up because it's just completely wrongly designed and engineered for any in-flight work. But their P51s are Hurricanes in 172, 148. Really well made, really nicely designed on the outside, looking good. And on the inside, very high part count, lots of panels, lots of internal details at a very high price point. To what end? I mean, their new 148 scale P39 seems to be a bit simpler. It remains to be seen. But, that's where they're going with that's what they're trying to do with their company. They're taking a leaf out of Eddard's book. I mean, they're renowned for their complexity. Their new Roof 0 and 148, we've got multi-part cows, super detailed cockpit, really high part count. Can you see it all? No, not really. There's similar complexity with their new 148 scale P51 with a massive multi-part landing gear bays, which you can't see unless you pick the model up because they only design them to go wheels down. You can't have flaps up or anything. No pilot. Hugely complex cockpit. Yeah, you can see a bit of the cockpit under the canopy, but there's so many parts. Same with their new Wildcat, which has got about 30 parts in the landing gear alone. I mean, what's the race here? What are we trying to say? Airfix released a new kit recently, 148 scale Bristol Bulldog. Harry Houdini did a review on that one, and yeah, they included a full interior that you cannot see. Particularly if you put a pilot in there, but even if you don't, if you even just have the seat with some seat belts on it, you can't see most of that interior, and it's a huge number of part counts. I mean, why did they include all that? Just to, keep up with the Joneses. Magic Factory, here's a new one that's come out recently. They've got a new 148 scale A4, the scooter. everyone's loving this kit. And I'm like, why? It's got every option under the sun. It's got all the open panels, open the nose, have a look at the radar, all the electronic compartments, engine bits, full interior. There's no wheels up option. There's no pilot. You can't deflect the ailerons from memory. The flaps are down. It's another autopsy kit, You can't ever do that thing to look like a simple A4, which is a very simple design, a very elegant design. And so it's very expensive. They've done the same thing with their F4 Corsair as well. It's got really, the external detail is wrong in a lot of things. All the rivet panels, the rivet detail and so forth are all incorrect, but they just threw complexity at that. Folded, unfolded, flaps up, flaps down, gun panels open, all the engine cowls open, but there's no in-flight options. And it's just, to my mind, they're going the wrong way. One of the highlights, however, talking about new ones, Great Wall Hobby, they brought out an A10 recently to go up against the Academy A10, which is a good kit. I've got it. It's 1/48 scale, and people have complained, it doesn't have a full cannon and open panels. It's like, yeah, like the Hobby Boss one. Yeah, thank God. You can only see the end bit. So, you don't have to have all these open panels. It's got moving flight surfaces, so all the flight surfaces can be deflected which way you want to. It's got wheels up capability built in, and although it's got high part counts, and it's got some PE in it, it's a little bit more complex and a little bit more expensive. It's sort of pushing in the right way, sort of. Let's add some positivity, some zeros to the mix here, and some P47. There's some light at the end of the tunnel in my sort of complaint. Academy seems to be about the only mainstream manufacturer wanting to push the boundaries of, cheap and cheerful, easy to build, good size, well-detailed models for all, not just beginners or average modelers, but, advanced guys can have a go at something like this. This is their new tool, A6 M2B0 in 1/48 scale for the Battle of Midway anniversary kit. And yeah, let's have a look at it. Very quick look if you haven't seen this before. There's no open panels. Okay, it's just a few sprues. Here we go, 4 or 5 sprues. Not much there. Okay, just enough. One-piece cowl. There it is. See the one-piece cowl there. And like I said, no open panels. You've got a seated pilot. Huzzah! You've got ability to close the wheel wells. They give you the option to go wheels up, wheels down, open or close canopy. What's not to love about this? And a very good price point, because they don't go over the top with the complexity. The only thing that's missing is a flight stand, which can be easy to affix to something like this. And, a couple of people said it's not hyper accurate, it's not perfect, but it looks like a zero, and it has the ability to go together really, 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 really well with a lot of simplicity. Moving up a scale to man scale, here's 132, and here's another company that I wish would do a bit more, and that's Hasegawa. Similar sort of philosophy. This is the 132nd scale A6 M5, and it's very, very similar thing. We've got, a lovely seated or standing pilot there for you. I won't get this all out for you, sorry. But yeah, there's no open panels. There's a basic cockpit which looks really good under the canopy. You get the ability to go wheels up. It's all designed in. Some things can be, it's actually, the part count is lower than most 1/48 scale stuff. And it's a good price point. It's cheaper than that Sea King. And, this is a full 1/32nd scale aircraft. Unfortunately, Hasegawa just doesn't seem to develop or release new kits that often, which is a real shame. The last one to talk about, which is a bit of a glass half full, glass empty one, is Mini-Art. Now, Mini-Art released their very first aircraft kit, and they took a leaf out of Paul Budzik. If you know Paul Budzik, he came up with the idea of what manufacturers should do is release a basic and an advanced version of all their kits. So your basic would have minimal parts, and that's what they've done. The basic one and the advanced would have a lot more, to have all the internal bits and extra bits that you want to add to it, or cut open panels and install things. And that's what Mini-Art tried to do. They had a basic one with minimal parts count, had a wheels up option, no pilot unfortunately, whereas the advanced had all the open panels and more parts count. Now, my friend Grant at MJ Rising, he gave the basic kit a go, but he actually found the construction quite complex, and a lot of the so-called basic features were actually the advanced ones in disguise. For example, the cowl on a P47, like a Zero, it's a radial engine, was supposed to be one piece, but it ended up being 2 or 3 pieces, and the fit was not very good because those parts were really designed for the advanced kit. So the basic kit was not really a beginner's kit by any stretch. it seems to me that the peak of what I want to get from the hobby, what I want to have, and that's a nice, simple build where you can admire the aesthetics of the aircraft, you know, either in flight or parked, doesn't really matter, on the ground, but you can see the whole thing. Maybe the canopy's open, that's about it. And there's, you know, it's not an autopsy, it's not being cut open and everything's exposed. It seemed to have peaked in the 90s with the likes of, you know, Tamiya and Airfix. Now there's a few coming around. Academy are trying to do some new things. Meng are trying hard, but I think the wave is really against them. It seems like we are just going to go for complexity. I contend that model manufacturers need to go back to basics. They need to do what Paul Budzik recommends. They need to produce models and focus on that excellent external detail that captures the shapes and the beauty of the aircraft, but just include the bare minimum interior bits that can be seen. Then release a second kit alongside it with all the additional parts. You know, you want gun bays, open engines, whatever you want, different options. And in fact, you could make it that one has additional decal options. Maybe make the basic one with just one decal option. Keep the price down. This should make it easier for beginners and average modelers to have access to all the latest tooling, like with this Academy Zero kit, and all the 3D technology, but without the complexity, without the higher parts count that can be quite daunting, and without that really high price point. So what do you think? Am I off track? Am I going nuts? Am I just having a complaint because I bought this kit and realised it's not for me? Well, yeah, maybe, but that's my prerogative. I'm allowed to make whatever opinions and things I can say about my hobby. As I keep saying, there's more than one hobby, but I really am worried about this. I think we're going to go down a path that's going to make it just smaller and smaller and smaller. And, you know, as figure modelers and Warhammer and other parts of the hobby really start to dominate, how are aircraft modelers going to survive that long term? I mean, are we all just going to display autopsy models on all our competition tables and on our Instagram and all that? I mean, what's left for the average Joe to do? What sort of kits are available? I mean, eventually all that 1990s stuff, the really nice Tamiya single-engine aircraft and some of the older Airfix is really, really good stuff. Their Spitfires and a lot of other jets. I mean, eventually they're going to dry up, aren't they? And it's going to be hard to find a simple kit that captures the aesthetics and the beauty of these aircraft, and that's why we model. I mean, I don't do modeling to build cars. If I wanted to build a car model, I'd build a car model. But yeah, what do you think? Am I full of it? Probably. Anyway, I need to stop making a video and start building a model. And that's what I'm going to do next. So I'll see you guys later.